Hey everybody, Jeffrey Way here. So today we're going to be taking a look at Terminal, Git, and GitHub. Now this is going to be for those of you who read the tutorials, the written tutorials, and still haven't a clue how to get started. And I was part of that bunch. There's no doubt, I think everyone can agree, at least those who have finally gotten the hang of it, can agree that it's really difficult and the entry level is quite high. And especially if you're not familiar with the terminal, it's just confusing, and the whole idea of version control and what the point of it is. So this screencast is hopefully going to simplify the process so that you can get started right away. Okay. So what we are going to be working with is, if you guys have noticed in the last couple of weeks, I've been pushing this a little bit. It's had a lot of popularity lately. One of my authors, Andrew Burgess, has posted 2 fantastic articles on both Git and GitHub. Now, while those were popular, as I said before, many people just go through these lines of code right here and they kind of gloss over and they never really let it sink in. So I'm creating this screencast almost as a supplement for the written articles that Andrew did. Okay, so what is Git? Git is an open source management tool. So this is a way to think, let's say you're working on a jQuery plugin. What if you branch off and you start working on maybe a new idea, and then you realize down the line, oh, that didn't work and you need to go back to how it was before? Well, maybe you just hit Control or Command Z 500 times to go back to where you were before. At least that's the way it was done in the past. But now, that's really inefficient. Instead, you can use something called version control, where in that case, you would just immediately go back to an earlier version of your code. Okay, so in gist, that's exactly what Git allows you to do, but it does much more than that. It was created by the creator of Linux, Linus Torvalds. And as the co-founder of GitHub referenced, try to think of it, easiest way to think of it is as Wikipedia for code. So that means, especially GitHub, anyone can view your code, anyone can fork your code or edit your code and show you the changes that they made. So it's kind of like this Wikipedia specifically for coders. Now, GitHub is, they call it social coding, and that's really what it allows you to do. You can create a project, upload it, people can then go to your page, check out your code, fork it, edit it, show you, and then you can better your code and learn from each other. So it's social coding. Okay, so the first thing is, how do we get set up? I'm going to be working on a Mac, however, a lot of these things transfer over to Windows very easily. So if we go down Andrew's tutorial, the first thing we have to do is download Git. So if you want to go to help.github.com, they have a lot of help here, and you want to first download and run the Git installer. So just click on that, and you can download the packages here. So you have a couple ways to download it. I'm just going to click, you have Leopard, so you can just download that. Now if you're on Windows, you will want to use something, I believe there's a link down here, right here. So you want to download that installer instead, and that will get it set up on your system. Okay. The next step is setting it up. So once you've installed it, you're going to load your terminal, and you need to set up a couple configuration options. So the first one you're going to do is git config. And this is going to be your global settings, and we're going to set the username. Okay, so I'm going to set mine, and this is just a think of it kind of like an autograph, a snapshot of who created the commit, right? So it's going to be Jeffrey Way, and then we're going to do another one, git config global user.email, and that's going to be my email address. Okay, and now we have set those configuration options, and we don't have to do it again for this installation. Okay, so the first thing I want to teach you is just a crash course flyby on working with the terminal. So I'm going to hide this, and I'm going to open up my root directory right here. And I'm not going to teach you everything, but for those of you who have especially probably if you're 18 or younger, you probably have no experience with terminal unless you're using a specific language that requires it. If you're a little bit older, even me, I don't have much experience at all, but I do remember being a kid and at least working with DOS and finding a way to run asteroids and learning some of those little shortcuts. So this is going to be a quick crash course. If you want to create a directory, you're going to do mkdir Actually, before we do that, if you just want to see what's in the current directory, you're going to hit ls, list. And you can see here this corresponds to my root directory. So let's say I want to go into the desktop. We're going to do cd desktop. And I type it just like it is right there. And if I hit enter, now you can see that it's appended that, and now I'm within that directory. So if I list the items again, now you can see that I just have 3 folders. Now, if I want to go further, I can once again do cd websites, or if I want to go back to the parent directory, I just simply type cd. And now you can see I've been sent back to the parent directory, and we have those options available to us. Now, let's say I want to create a directory on my desktop. Well, first let's do cd desktop. And the next thing is we're going to do mkdir, and that stands for make directory. Similar, if you use PHP, you're familiar with that. So we're going to name the directory testing terminal, or I don't know, test project. And now you can see immediately we've created a project there. All right, so I'm going to close this out and let's continue working with it. Let's say now within our little test project, we want to create a new file, maybe index.html. The way you do that is actually, it kind of works both ways. You use touch. Now normally touch means if you are working with an existing file, but if one does not exist, it'll create the file for you. So I'm going to type touch index.html. And you can see right there that the file was created, but not in our test project like we had hoped. How come? And the reason is we created this directory, but we never actually went inside of it. So let's do that right now. cd test project. And now we're within it. And let's do it again. Touch index.html. And if I click on it, you can see we have our index.html file. Great. Let's create another one. Touch page.php maybe. And it creates it for us. Let's say we want to create another directory, maybe a CSS folder. Okay, well let's do make directory CSS, and maybe we'll do another one for JavaScript, so I'm going to do JS, and now we have JS folders. Let's say we want to add a style.css and a script.js file, right? So we'll do touch css/style.css and touch js/scripts.js, and now if I click on those, we have those files available to us. Fantastic. So already you can see with the terminal, you might find that it's quicker to create your opening folder structure using the terminal, especially once you get the hang of it. So let's say we want to create a README as well, so we're going to do a touch README. And you can see it was added there. If we want to just go in there and add some information, we're going to do vim. So vim README. And that's actually going to open the file and allow us to edit it. So if I type a letter right now, nothing's going to happen. I'm hitting the G and nothing is typing. How come? Just things you need to learn. I is going to be for insert. So if I type the letter I right now, you'll see at the bottom it says insert, and now we are in insert mode, and I can type hello world or my documentation. Or of course I can just edit it manually using a normal text editor. So when I'm done with that, this is just one you're going to have to memorize it. Don't let it confuse you too much. Just memorize it. You're going to hit escape and :WQ. So if you want to write that down or just memorize it, you'll get to the point where you don't even think about it. And if I hit enter, now it sends me back to the regular terminal. And if we come up here now and we double click on README, you can see that we've added that information. Okay, so in not very long at all, we've created our test project. So let's just imagine we wanted to create a new project and we wanted to see how quickly we could do that. And rather than creating it manually, we're going to do it from the terminal. Okay, so we're going to create a new project called My Site. I'm going to open up terminal and we're going to make a directory called My Site, and we're going to touch index. First, we need to go into my site, right? So cd my site, and we're going to touch index.html, touch page.php, make directory CSS, make directory JS, and then touch CSS/style.css and touch JS/scripts.js. Close that out, bring my site out, and if I view it, we've created our folder structure in 20 seconds. So you might already find that's going to be a much quicker way for you to create your structure if you're not working off some kind of template. Okay, so that's all we're going to get into. I'm going to teach you a few more things, but that kind of gives you an idea of how to work with the terminal. There's more things. For example, cd. Let me show you one more thing. cd my site. Now we are within the site, and let's say I decide I don't want that page.php file. How can I just remove it? We're going to do rm for remove page.php, and now if I list my items again, it's been removed. Okay. So the first thing is, how can we start working with Git? So let me go ahead and close this out and open up my site again, and we have our files. So remember, this is version control software, so we want to working on some fictional project, and we want to get set up for Git. Well, we've downloaded it. The first thing we need to do is call init, and that creates the new repository. So all I'm going to do is type git, and let me close this out, and by the way, I'm hitting Command K to clear this out. I'm doing git init, and now it says initialized empty Git repository within here. Now, if you're working on Windows, you will be able to access this file. However, using Mac, those files are hidden. Now, if you didn't know, there's a really easy way on Mac to access a file, and it's via go to folder, or Shift Command G, and I'm just going to paste that in. And you can see now within our folder, it's created this Git repository, and it has those files available to us. Cool. So, if I can open up my folder again, the first thing we want to do is we've called init on Git, but we actually need to stage some items to the Git repository. So think of a staging area as just kind of a location or a spot to hold your files until you commit them. And when you commit them, that means you actually are saving them into their own area and creating a new kind of like a new memory point, if that makes any sense. So right now I'm going to do git add period, and that means add everything to the staging area. Okay, and now if we want to commit all of our items, we're just going to call git commit, and I'm going to do -m, and that's so I can add a message. That way when I review this particular commit, I can see that, oh, I added maybe a new file or made some changes here. I'm just going to call it added files. It can be anything there. Okay, and now you can see 0 files changed, 0 insertions, and that's because we created the modes right there. Okay, now let's say I edit index.html. Maybe I'm going to add this right here. I'm going to save that, and now we want to, maybe when we have GitHub, we want to upload that, or we just want to create a new save point. We're going to do git commit, and in addition to M, we're going to do A, and that's the way to add the items to the staging area and also commit them at the same time. That way you don't have to do it manually. So we're going to do AM, or you can do A-M like that, and we're going to say updated index. And now you can see one file has been changed. So now we've kind of created our first few instances. Let's say we want to hit git log, and this is going to show you a log of everything we've done. So here's where we first started. We added our files, and then we created a new commit, and this is a whole new instance, so we can go back to this one if we want. So let's say we're working right now and we decide down the road, you know what, we're going to go back to the way it was before. Well, we have this commit saved earlier that we can access. Okay, so now we want to get set up on GitHub. Let's say you're working on a project and you want to show your project to the world and let them see what you've been working on. The first thing you're going to do is go to github.com, and you are going to sign up. Now there are paid memberships right here, but the free plan is going to work perfectly for you. Unlimited repositories and 300 megabytes of disk space, which is quite a bit. So I'm going to click sign up. And let's just add some information here. Now, SSH public key, what is that? It needs to have a, you need to generate a public key that you can use here to reference you. So in order to generate one, once again, we're going to open up Terminal again. And once again, this is just something you'll need to memorize or bookmark one of the tutorials on NetTouch so that way you can easily reference it. So we're going to type SSH, and we're going to do keygen to generate a public key. Okay. Then I'm going to hit -T. Now the T option assigns, -T, that assigns the specific type of RSA. And the next one, C, and this is going to be a comment, and usually you'll find that people will put like their email address or something like that. And now you can see generating public key. enter in which file to save the key. I'm just going to hit enter, and that will add it to the default directory. Now it says other items already existing. It's because I've already set up one. I'm going to go ahead and overwrite that. I'm going to hit Y, enter, and it wants to know a passphrase. I'm not going to tell you mine. I'm going to hit enter and then type it again. And please note that it's not going to actually show the stars. Oh. Okay, now your identification has been saved here. Your public key has been saved here. So you need to access that public key so you can paste it in here. So I'm going to close that out, and once again I'm going to use the trick of Shift Command G or go to folder. I'm going to paste that in, and what we want is id_rsa.pub. And then what I will do, copy that and come back, and I'm going to paste that in right here, and I'm going to write agree, sign me up, and username, let's just change that to something that they consider valid. And now we have created our first account. So I'm going to zoom out just because this website is optimized for higher resolutions, because it's obviously Coder is going to be on this particular site. Okay, so now let's close this out and let's come back and let me see what we have to work with here. We have my site. Let's say that site is finished and we want to upload it to GitHub. How can we do that with an existing repository? I want to hit new repository right here, and we're going to call it, I don't know, my first project, just for tuts. We could give it a homepage URL. I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to click Create Repository. And now it has some options. So here, if we have never worked with Git before, they give you those initial configuration options and how to install Git. We've already done that. Next, if we have yet to create anything, we're starting from scratch, they give you a little bit of sample code here that you can use. You create your directory called My First Project, you go into it, you initialize Git, you create a README file, you add README to the staging area, then you commit that. Remember, you create a new memory point, and then these next two parts are what we need to do. If we scroll down, existing Git repo, yes, we've already created one. We're going to go into that directory, so let's hit terminal once again, and let's close this out, and let me see where I am. We saved it. Alright, we already are in our folder. So now what we need to do is call this right here, git remote add origin, git at GitHub, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I can come up here and I can copy that right there. And what we're going to do here now is git remote add origin. Now, origin is just a keyword that we are going to assign right here. Now, remote it's just the repository in a remote location, or in this instance, we're going to be working with GitHub. Okay, so all we're saying is go to this remote location and add a reference here. So I'm going to hit enter. And then the next thing is git push origin master, and you're gonna be typing this one a lot. So push is we're going to be adding our information to the keyword of origin, which is referencing this, and master refers to the specific branch. And we haven't gone over branches just yet, but to give you a quick idea, let's say you're working on a project and midway through you decide you want to kind of branch off and try something else different, but you're not sure if it's going to work. So you just want to branch off and try it out for a while, but still have the option of coming back to your original project. You could create a new branch, and you could call it an idea or something, and then you could continue working with your project, and if that works out, you can merge it back with your original project, or if it doesn't, you could revert back to your original branch. Now, master is the default branch that is created, so all we're referencing is that one that's created for you. Okay, I'm going to hit enter, and now you're going to see it's working just a bit, and it wants to know my password, so I'm going to type that in. And now it says counting objects, 8 done. It compressed them, it uploaded them, and now we're done. I'm going to click continue. And as you can see, it's uploaded those files to our repository. Cool. So now we can click on index.html, and we have our file. So the next step, let's say a day goes by and we're working on it some more. So I'm going to open up, close this out, and let's say we're working on this in TextMate, and I'm going to change this, and we decide, oh, we're going to make some neat new feature, okay? Just for example. And let's say we also add a new file, and it's going to be a page, and just hello page. just gibberish, but it'll be your own files. So we've made some changes. We feel good about them. We want to go ahead and commit them. So what do we have to do? Well, we have to add them to the stage, and then we have to commit them. Or using that trick I showed you earlier, we can add and commit all at the same time, and that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to go back to the terminal. Now remember, just by changing the files, there isn't some automatic link between your local files and the files stored on GitHub. So for instance, if I come back and I refresh the page, you're not going to see any changes. And I had somebody ask me about that. And it's because, well, you still have to manually commit those to the remote repository. So I'm going to go back to terminal. And all we're going to do is git commit -a, which means we're going to add all the files, and then end the message, and it's going to be added new page, or added new feature. I think that's what we called it. And this is one file's change, one insertion, one deletion. If I refresh the page, nothing's happened, so why not? Remember, you've committed it. That's not saying upload it to GitHub. All you're saying is create a new save point. So now, if you remember, we have to call that git push origin master, and what that is going to do, once again, it's going to push the files to the remote repository, and it's going to reference master, the master branch that was created for us by default. If I click that enter now it's going to add those files. And if I refresh the page now, you can see change to some neat new features. But now, look, if I refresh the page, we added a page.html file, and it's not showing up. Why isn't it? And it's because, well, we only committed the most recent file. So why don't we go ahead and do git add period, which is going to add all the files. Or, by the way, we can just do it manually if we wanted to do git add page.html. That way, if you don't want to commit everything, but just the changes you made on one file, you can do it that way. Here, I'm just going to do period. And then once again, git commit m and small fix or something like that. And then finally, git push origin master. It's going to upload these files once again. And now, any files that were changed or created, we've uploaded. And now you can see page.html. Okay, so now if we want to take a look at the specific files, we can go to history. And you can see here is our entire history. So here is the original, the first time we created a commit, and you can see those were the files we had. Okay, let's come back, and we updated index.html. So let's see what happened there. And now you can see we just created our first hello world, and then if we come up here, small fix, and now you can see that we changed hello world. Okay. You can also view this as a tree if you want to come down, and now if we view it, we are going to be viewing that information. So just to give you an example, let's go back to this one as a tree in view index.html, and this is how it was at that point when we committed earlier. So you can immediately see the version control. If you 2 hours go by and you screwed something up and you just want to go back to the way it was before, you can easily do that. Now, I don't want to go over GitHub too much because Andrew did a great job, and mostly you just need to explore it, but the fun things are somebody can then come to your project. Like, for instance, let's hide this, and let's say somebody is on, let me go ahead and log out, and somebody comes to your project, maybe you invite somebody there, and they're going to look at your first project, and they want to play with it themselves. They can fork it. Now, I'm already signed in, so you can't see that here, unfortunately, but there will be a button that says fork, and what does fork mean? And it's just a way for them to make a copy of your little application and download it locally. Okay, and there will be instructions. If you want to do that to somebody yourself, you can fork a copy, clone it, and that way you have your own repository that you can work with. And then when you make your changes, you can call git push origin master, and it'll upload it to your area. You can then call something called a pull request, which notifies the original author that you've made some changes. And mostly, if that's a little confusing, just know that once you play around with it for a while, you'll begin to get the hang of it. And be sure to check out like the network tab, which shows you all the changes that you or any of your followers, any people who have forked your application, have made to it. So this is really all I wanted to show you, was just a crash course in kind of working with the terminal, working with Git, getting set up on GitHub with your first project, and hopefully if you need to watch this again, feel free to do so. Look over the 2 articles that Andrew Burgess wrote. There's still one on the front page. He did a fantastic job. And just let us know if you have any questions. And just remember, if you're new to Git, the whole thing is, remember, Wikipedia for code. The whole idea being every single thing is reversible. That way you never have to lose any code if you branch off and work on something new. There's definitely way more to go into, but this will definitely get you started, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.